Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. So we will begin. Thank you for staying with us. So we will begin in about a few more minutes to allow the rest of the participants to join us. Okay, thank you.
Test, dengar tak?
Okay, so we will start now. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. So welcome to the Persatuan Pegawai Sains Malaysia, the PPSM Webinar Series 2025. My name is Maisa Yusof and I'm Science Officer at Universiti Malaya and I will be serving as your moderator today. So you'll be hearing shortly in a presentation from Puan Nur Aina Al-Hazi, our speaker for today, on these very timely subjects. But before we begin, so please note that the attendance and feedback forms will be shared in the chat box later after 30 minutes after the webinar starts, and kindly complete the form to be eligible for the attendance certificate. Should you have any questions during the session, you are welcome to submit them via the chat box. We will address all inquiries at the completion of the presentation. Before that, allow me to share a brief introduction of our speaker, Puan Noraina Mahazir. Puan Noraina is a Certified Radiation Protection Officer and our Senior Science Officer at Universiti Malaya. She serves in the Radiation Protection Services Unit under the Occupational Safety Health and Environment Center. She holds a Master of Community Health Science, Occupational Health from Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia and a Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences, Medical Radiation from University Science Malaysia. So she has been focusing on radiation safety and compliance, and her responsibilities include overseeing radiation protection protocols and ensuring the safe handling of radioactive materials within the university. Now moving along to our session, please welcome Puan Noraina Mahazir, who will be speaking to us on radiation safety, responsibility or a burden. Floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. Please just tunggu sekejap before we present the slides. Thank you to the moderator Puan Maisarah for introducing me. First of all, I'd like to sincerely thank the organizer PPSM for inviting us to be part of the today's knowledge sharing session. So we are truly appreciate the opportunity to connect with all of you lah. So let us begin our slide. My colleague will share the slide presentation. Okay. Next. Allow me to introduce our team first. We are from Radiation Protection Services Unit, Universiti of Malaya. And today we are excited to share a bit of radiation safety. So join me today are Ms. Nurul Najwa Zulaika, who is Certified Radiation Protection Supervisor, and Mr. Muhammad Rahmat, who bring experience as authorized radiation worker at Universiti Malaya. While three of us are based at the center, our work will not be possible without our dedicated and support of our rest of the team. So we call it our radiation team. So they are across various levels and also location in our campus. So next, currently, we have fantastic of 47 radiation workers who support and work together with us in this radiation field. And of course, our moderator also a part of our radiation team, Puan Maisarah. Okay, our topic today is about radiation safety. Is it responsibility or a burden? So let's recap first. What is radiation? So radiation is an energy that through a space in the form of wave or particle. So this is a simple ionization diagram that explains about radiation itself. So next, natural radiation can be in form of natural radiation and also can be in the form of man-made radiation. So natural radiation may come from the sunlight, from the soil, from the cosmic rays in outer space, whereas man-made radiation can come from the X-ray and also from electrical substation or maybe pencawan listrik, pencawan telecom and so on. Basically, I think for the next slide, basically we are exposed to radiation in our daily life. So there are two types of radiation actually. One is ionizing radiation and another one is non-ionizing radiation. So they are both stated in this nice electromagnetic spectrum. Ionizing radiation can cause ionization, whereas the non-ionizing radiation doesn't cause ionization when it interacts with the matter or atom. From the spectrum, we can see that ionizing radiation has higher energy compared to non-ionizing. So our focus today will be on ionizing radiation compared to non-ionizing radiation. So there are 5 types of ionizing radiation. So there are alpha radiation, beta radiation, alpha rays, beta rays, gamma rays, X-ray, and neutron. Basic, and 5 of them are different, have different characteristics, different linear energy transfer, and different safety requirement, because there will be implementation on different shielding. Okay. There are many applications of ionizing radiation, such as for medical purpose, for our hair, to increase our quality of hair, to generate energy like electricity, for environment sustainability, and also for industrial, for quality control. So how can we identify the source of radiation? So senang bila ada this TRIFO symbol. So it can be recognized or identified through the TRIFO symbol. This is International Ionizing Radiation Symbol that we call TRIFOD. So basically, it's color coding with black and yellow. It also have revolution of a color, but right now has been standardized with this 3 bilah kipas ni, this TRIFO symbol with color of yellow and black. And another way to identify, to detect this is radiation using the detection equipment. So we do have monitoring device that can detect ionizing radiation, and also we do have personal monitoring device to detect exposure for the person that exposed to radiation. This is because the radiation is senseless. It can't be sensed by our sixth sense. Okay. Now we have discussed, just now we have discussed about the source and application of radiation. So it is important to consider the risk involved, especially in the case of radiological accident. So here, there are some examples of radiological accident that have occurred around the world. I think most of us very familiar with Hiroshima, Nagasaki due to atomic bomb in World War. I believe most of us also familiar with Chernobyl, Ukraine, due to nuclear disaster. For Georgia accident is due to left source and not in the secured place. Whereas what happened to Mayapuri, India, is due to lack of SOP, of enforcement or implementation. So they abuse the SOP for disposal of radioactive source. And last but not least, I think we are also familiar with Fukushima nuclear. It can be called nuclear disaster, but not as worse as Chernobyl, Ukraine, because Fukushima due to tsunami. So, due to that accident, there are biological effect from exposure to radiation. So, secara termsnya, biological effect from exposure to radiation can be classified into somatic and genetic effect. Somatic, it appears on the receiver, that person that exposed to radiation. Whereas the genetic is the effect appear on descendant of the victim. And also in somatic, they are deterministic and also stochastic effect, because stochastic and deterministic effect, it depend on acute and also the long-term effect of the long-term of effect, macam cancer and so on. Okay, next. Due to that matters, how to protect and control the use of radiation source. So this can be controlled through strict legal frameworks. In Malaysia, we do have very strict, very nice framework, legal framework. We call it Atomic Energy Licensing Act 1984 or Act 304 and subsidiary regulation that enforce under it. So there are a lot of regulation, guideline, and so on. So we just stated here a few of that regulation that apply to us, such as licensing, transport, basic safety, protection, and also radioactive waste. All the legal requirement are enforced by two authority in Malaysia. If you use radiation for non-medical purpose, it will be enforced under Atom Malaysia. Whereas if we use radiation for medical purpose, it will enforce under Ministry of Health. Okay, based on the regulation mentioned before, we are responsible to ensure the safe use of radiation accordingly to the principle of radiation protection. This principle has been used worldwide. So I can't say it's a hierarchy, but kita guna semua. When we want to use radiation and we want to apply radiation protection, first we have to justify the use of radiation. Why we need to use that? So we need to measure the risk and balance, risk and benefits. In less the risk but more benefit. So kita kena justify why we want to use that. Mesti kena ada benefit lah. Second one is optimization. So optimization ini kita nak guna dalam konsep as low as reasonable achievement, ALARA. So supaya kita dapat apa yang kita nak with small exposure of radiation. So as low as reasonable achievement. And the last but not least, kita kena consider lah, we need to consider the dose limitation. So dose limitation ni different country different dia punya dose limitation. So in Malaysia we use dulu kita pakai 50 millisievert. Dose limit for radiation worker 50 millisievert per year. So now under basic safety standard radiation and 2010 telah apply the new regulation, maka dose limitation pun telah dikurangkan kepada 20 millisievert per year. So kita kena ubahlah. So our safety requirement also kena follow the principle of radiation. So next. So based on that regulation that kita mentioned before, we are responsible to ensure the safe use of radiation. So including the concept. So konsep ni kita apply berdasarkan prinsip tadi. So ALARA concept throughout the methods. What the method? Method time, distance and shielding to control external exposure. So less time we expose, less time we spend in the source, less radiation that we receive. Greater distance from the source, less radiation we receive. This is inverse square law punya concept. And also last but not least, shielding. If you do the irradiating process behind the shielding from the source, it's less radiation that you receive. Okay. Due to the third principle, dose limitation, we classify our radiation area. So how do we classify our radiation area? Kita kena measure lah, kita ada mapping. So kita classify radiation into 3 areas. To control area, supervised area, and also clean area. Untuk control radiation dose exposure. So if that area, when we measure the dose or the exposure below not more than 1 millisievert per year or 0.5 microsievert per hour, it can be considered as clean area. So that clean area can be accessed by public. Whereas in control and supervised area, there will be more kebarangkalian possibility the exposure, radiation exposure more than 3 microsievert per hour, or might be contribute to 20 millisievert per year. So this control area and supervised area, only authorized radiation worker can access that. Okey, saya baca sini Nur Izwan ya, Tuan Nur Izwan, adakah Al-Arab as well as reasonable practicable sama dengan Al-Arab? So Al-Arab is concept for radiation. Is it sama konsep? Sama. Cuma apa yang kita nak achieve is dengan sedikit exposure of radiation, kita achieve lebih. So the Al-Arab concept. Sama, dia sama. Al-Arab, kita panggil Al-Arab and also Al-Arab. Okay, next. So kita datang kepada responsibility. So how we measure responsibility? So we need to carry our responsibility to take care safety of the worker, safety of the public, and also our responsibility to take care untuk memastikan our source in the secure, and also the use of radiation source in safeguarded. So how to show our responsibility? We are accounted in this what we call this three statement. First is legal compliant. So from legal compliant, before we comply with the legal, we need to have awareness first. After that, kita kena ada authorization. Authorization is who is our authority? Is it Atom Malaysia or is it Kementerian Kesihatan? So we need to have some engagement. So kena ada juga kita panggil benchmarking. Kena ada juga kita kena tengok praktis di tempat yang lain supaya kita ada engagement. And from that, kita kena tengok our practitioner, our person of in charge. Kita kena tengok competency. So from legal compliant, dia ada some sort of competency. In radiation, the person that in charge should be certified radiation protection officer or should be radiation protection supervisor to carry out the responsibility. Okay. And last but not least juga check and balance. Check and balance ni memang kena ada lah. Sebab tak semua legal compliant itu from our point of view, maybe we implement quite different from other. So kita kena tengok check and balance sama ada from our point of view of regulators or from point of view of other practitioner. Second one is commitment. Commitment, we tabulate it from hierarchy of command. So kita memang kita panggil to ensure all levels of hierarchy of command should give commitment. From that hierarchy of command, dia akan datang reliability. So masa ni lah reliability dipanggil trustworthy. Kita best in our job, you best in your job, and me best in my job. So kita do our best in our job. That show the commitment toward the radiation safety. And of course, we need a support system. To commitment from support system, tak dapat lari lah. Financial support system, workforce support system, manpower lah. And also last, implementation. Dah ada legal compliant, dah ada cantik dah framework, dah ada komitmen, dah ada pengurusan, dah bagi komitmen, dah bagi duit dan sebagainya. Maka kita datang kepada implementation, walking the talk. So kenalah buat, kalau tak implement, kalau tak buat, kita tak adalah. Di situ kita tak boleh nak identify where is our weakness dan sebagainya for lesson learn and continue improvement. And in the end of process, kita akan identify the best practice. And of course, kita punya practice sekarang tak semestinya boleh diguna pakai sampai dulu kini selamanya. So dia ada juga revolution dia. So kita kena adapt lah. Kita kena tengok contoh for digitalization. So kerana dah ada dulu kita guna buku, we work on hard copy. Nowadays we work on digitalization. That is a revolution that we need to adapt. So, macam kita apply plan PDCA lah, somehow like that. So next. Okay, in Malaysia, the use of radiation source is a regulated responsibility and is only permitted for those who have a valid license. So in Muslim Malaya, we currently post 2 valid licenses that authorize the use of radiation source. One license for use of radiation for non-medical purpose that we use it for research and teaching, and another one we use for medical purpose. For this one we are specifically for dental only, for dental clinical only. So, and for other medical purpose like in PPUM, they will be under will be under medical physicists. All the licensing holder are responsible to comply with the regulation. So when we see the license, memang ada nama siap-siap kat situ. So siapa yang ada nama dalam license memang the person that responsible lah. So untuk comply with regulation to report to the authority and ensure the proper use of radiation. Okay. Next. Okay, this is also legal compliant document that show our commitment to radiation safety. So dalam legal compliant documentation will be stated responsibility, each one role and responsibility of PIC. So role of responsibility of RPO, role of responsibility of practitioner, radiation worker, handler, roles and responsibility of RPS, radiation protection supervisor, and also role and responsible of our top management. So this has been stated nicely in this, we call it program perlindungan sinaran, and also show our commitment toward the safety dengan menggunakan pelan kecemasan radiological and also pelan security. So due to this, next. Due to this, kita ada perakuan di sini, kita ada declaration. So that declaration yang menyatakan who is accountable, who is responsible, and who is answerable. So from this statement, so kita memang take it very serious lah, responsibility. So untuk carry out everything about the legal compliance and also the radiation safety. Okay, next. So this is our practitioner responsibility. Sama ada PIC ke RPO, RPS or radiation worker, hatta sehingga public pun ada. So we need to comply with the law, guideline and compliance that has been enforced. So when we need to handle radiation, we need to handle it with respect. Jangan terlalu sangat obses takut, jangan terlalu sangat seronok sangat pun ada. We need to handle it with respect. And then to report if we found or we lost or we have radiological accident dan sebagainya, we need to report to the authority. And we need to use the proper radiation detection to measure radiation dose exposure. This one is a part of check and balance, so inspection by authority. So in Muslim Malaya, because our license in category 1, so we have frequent inspection by authority. Kita kata dalam bahasa mudahnya follow rapat lah, ikut rapat lah, memang ada. Tapi that's good for check and balance supaya kami berada in a good framework, betul lah untuk legal compliance. So for me, radiation protection is a responsibility, not a burden. So what about you all kat sana? Is it a burden? Okay, for me, I can't carry that responsibility alone. So memang kena share the burden lah. Kita angkat sama-sama. Radiation protection bukan responsibility of single person. Dia adalah komitmen across all levels, from operator, from supervisor, from regulators, and also from our management. So responsibility must be carried out with each party playing their role by complying with regulation, reporting, just now kita kena report, dan kita kena guna radiation source with safe and responsible. Due to that matter, kami transition from inclusive model to an exclusive approach. So where specific responsibility are assigned to the team. So kita dah ubahlah cara kita. Dulu kita agak very in our own world. So right now we need to make it exclusive. So everyone have their say in this matter. So cuma yang membuat keputusan di peringkat center lah. Tapi ada penglibatan daripada semua pihak. So kita tak ada lah satu as a top to down. Kita kena ada juga down to top. As a result, all of us are actively involved in establish the best practice in our respective area. Ini as a result lah, kita pernah dapat award daripada Atom Malaysia sebagai komitmen cemerlang kepada legal compliance Akta 304. It's a long journey. Kita panggil slowly but surely, insyaAllah. Tapi of course, time constraint, money constraint, dia datanglah kat situ. Somehow if you work alone, it become a burden. So we need to share with all the team. I'm grateful because I have a good team, Alhamdulillah. And so far, my team, my other 47 person, itu pun memang very excellent, very incredible orang lah. Memang dia orang ibarat duta-duta kami lah yang telah mengendalikan radiation tu dengan baik. Next. So kita juga ada engagement program. This is a part of to identify the best practice. So macam last year kita orang ke Atom Malaysia and agensi nuklear, and somehow kita juga ada ongoing engagement program with National Nuclear Security Administration from ASEAN Pacific. So masih lagi project tu ongoing for almost 3 years. So kita menerima insentif untuk installation of security kita panggil security device at our category 1. So next, kita juga ada radiation course that we carry out internally. Memang legal bounded lah. Every 2 or 3 years we need to conduct our own radiation course. But somehow when we conduct radiation course, it become a family day for us. We meet and greet, and I think that's when people come and happy, and bila dia balik dan dia ingat, that's more effective rather than we sit down and theoretically tell them, this is do and this is don't. So in the conclusion, we come to the end of the slide. Tepat-tepat 30 minit je. In the conclusion, radiation protection adalah responsibility that memerlukan commitment, that require commitment and collaboration from all levels. So this is not a burden. tapi is it essential process, essential practice to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone involved. Sama ada radiation worker, public, or our stakeholder, environment and so on. So I think let us continue to work together to uphold the highest standard of radiation safety. Sama ada dalam UM ke, di Malaysia ke atau di mana-mana, I think work together is very crucial part, but that the most effectively. With that, thank you. Ada soalan ke? Faham ke? Faham kan?
Okay, terima kasih Puan Aina untuk presentation yang dalam 30 minit tu. Siap. Okay, so attendance list has been posted in the chat box just now. So mohon untuk semua mengisilah kehadiran dalam link tersebut. So I will love to open the floor now. So Puan Aina, mungkin Puan Aina nak baca soalan yang dekat chat box sekarang ni daripada Puan Zubaida.
Puan Zubaida,
Ya, mungkin boleh.
bagaimana UM membuat perancangan kewangan berkaitan kos yang terlibat? Calibration medical check-up untuk pekerja sinaran. Yang kedua, pengurusan dilaksanakan secara pusat. Saya jawab soalan yang pertama dulu, bagaimana UM membuat perancangan kewangan. Sama macam universiti yang lain, kita ada belanja mengurus. It's almost 1 year before kita identify, kita kena pasti financial yang kita kena kita panggil apa? Peruntukan kewangan yang kita perlu belanjakan. Contoh, untuk buat medical check-up, kita dah kena pasti 2 or 3 years before. So, kita dah bawa masuk paperwork dan sebagainya. Early of the year. Supaya macam contoh tahun ni, kami pun ada medical check-up. So, it just kita uruskan secara berpusat dan kita mohon kerjasama daripada pihak HR. Alhamdulillah, kita dapat dan semua pekerja sinaran boleh membuat check-up mereka di klinik panel yang telah kita nyatakan. Yang kedua, pengurusan dilaksanakan secara pusat. Ya betul, kita laksanakan secara berpusat. So supaya kita oversee all the thing that mana yang terlibat dengan legal compliant, kita boleh tick the check box to first. Macam contoh, macam calibration. Our survey meter memang datang, memang kita panggil at the center. Kami yang provide the survey meter. So every year kami yang membuat perancangan kewangan for calibration dan kami juga yang mengedarkan setiap satu survey meter to setiap radiation area. Okey, soalan yang daripada Tuan Nur Izwan, berapa dos radiasi kepada pesakit? Okey, ini dah masuk medical side . Kepada pesakit, dia tak ada hard limit dose sebab for medical purpose. Yang ni saya rasa medical physicist lebih pakar, lebih lebih tahu tentang ini. Di UM kita tak ada, kita tak menjalankan irradiating proses penyinaran kepada pesakit. Kecuali Euro X-ray. Euro X-ray kita pun yang kita lesenkan di bawah lesen Kementerian Kesihatan itu adalah untuk tujuan pergigian sahaja. Yang untuk pesakit di Pusat Perubatan Universiti Malaya itu di bawah had kuasa medical physicist RPO sana. Daripada Puan Syafiqah, pernahkah UM melakukan radiation disaster? Is there any SOP atau manual dirujuk? Kita tak buat lagi pengujian bencana radiation disaster. Kita memang ada experience lah dalam memberi respon kepada radiation accident. Kita tak sampai disaster lagi, tak sampai peringkat disaster. Tapi memang kita ada pelan pengujian, pelan kecemasan radiologikal. Itu memang keperluan perundangan kepada Universiti Malaya sebagai lesen dalam kategori 1. Lajunya ke atas. Mana ni? Mana dia? Public, orang awam tidak lebih daripada 1 milisievert setahun. Ya, betul. Orang awam itu tidak boleh lebih daripada 1 milisievert per year. Sebab orang awam tu unnecessary dose untuk dia. Untuk expose kepada radiation. Kecuali kalau dia perlu for medical purpose, dia bagi tujuan perubatan, itu tertakluk kepada hak kuasa doktor atau radiologis atau medical physicist yang buat pengiraannya. Dan kita pergi lagi ke bawah daripada Mr. Lee or Miss Lim. Miss Lee, apa guideline yang boleh dirujuk mengenai senarai blood test yang perlu dijalankan bagi juru X-ray? Apa frekuensi blood test tersebut? Apa senarai blood test yang dijalankan ke atas juru X-ray ke maksudnya? Maksudnya masa kita buat medical check-up ya. So there are a lot of requirement blood test yang telah dinyatakan di dalam buku perubatan yang buku perubatan yang bawah LAMTEC tu yang telah dikuatkuasakan. So ada yang ada kita tengok RBC, ada juga kita tengok YBC, ada juga kita tengok kita panggil dia punya thalassemia trait and so on. Itu kita ada. Dia tak semestinya juru X-ray, tapi for our radiation worker kita buat juga. Yang mana tertakluk kepada authorized radiation worker sama ada juru X-ray atau any radiation worker, semua kita buat blood test tu. Seperti mana yang dikendaki oleh buku perubatan yang atom MPOS. Frekuensi blood test tersebut macam kami kita orang buat 2 tahun sekali in 2 years. Tapi tertakluk kepada komitmen pengurusan, komitmen masing-masing. Dia lagi duduk dalam kawasan kawalan, lagi frequent you kena buat medical check-up. Tapi dia tertakluk kepada authority lah. Selama ada authority terima atau tak. Okey. Jawab tak? Ini saya jawab kami jawab ni based on our experience and within the legal framework lah. Kalau yang lebih extravaganza tu takat mana yang kami boleh provide. Oh, ni Puan Nurul tanya, boleh ke nak join PPSM? Yang ni nanti saya rasa organizer lah yang akan respon. Ada tak hepatitis and HIV screening? Tak ada. Kita tak ada screening untuk Hep and HIV screening. Dalam blood test tu tak ada. Puan Syafiqah dapatkan email saya, boleh. Nanti organizer mungkin akan provide lah. Tidak type je nama saya kat Universiti Melaya. Boleh share. Nanti kita akan bagi kepada organizer. Dan organizer yang akan disseminate the info. Okey, ada lagi soalan? Saya tak nampak ada orang daripada Universiti Melaya ke kat sini. Tak ada. Ada ke? Saya tak nampak kat sini.
Ada point lah, ramai juga daripada Universiti Malaya tu.
Ya ke? Is that from our team?
Oh, tim kita pun ada, bukan tim kita pun ada.
Okey, alhamdulillah.
Okay, so mana ada apa-apa soalan lagi ke yang hendak diutarakan kepada speaker kita? Jangan lupa ya isi attendance form, nanti tak dapat cert pula.
If there any perkongsian ke daripada audiens yang nak kongsi pandangan, pendapat berkaitan dengan radiation safety ataupun praktis yang dijalankan di tempat kalian macam mana, mungkin kita boleh buat our benchmark dan sebagainya. Tak ada. Tak ada. Tak apa.
So, adakah kita nak
Cukup kot. Cukup kan?
kita nak tamatkan ke, Faina?
Saya okey je.
Okay. Oh,
Oh
ada
ni.
soalan lagi, Puan?
Adakah piawaian safety untuk radiation di UM sama dengan PPUM? Kita enforce under akta yang sama, sama ada UM atau PPUM di bawah akta 304 juga. Tapi how implementation and our enforcement authority juga adalah berbeza. So untuk UM yang menguatkuasakan akta 304 akta radiation tadi adalah Atom Malaysia, whereas to PPUM adalah Kementerian Kesihatan. Akta yang sama, mungkin cara kita implement mungkin akan berbeza. Tapi semuanya menuju kepada legal compliance yang sama lah. How about CME tahunan pekerja sinaran? Oh, we call it CEP. Oh, okay. Untuk pekerja sinaran, kita tak ada collect any merit lah. Cuma kita as a practitioner, macam kami yang di Pekat Center, kami yang kena provide awareness, education, refresher course to our pekerja sinaran and Mesti Melaya. Itu fall under our responsibility at the center. So diorang as a pekerja sinaran, as part of our team, diorang akan datang dan and we conduct our course and setiap 2 tahun macam tu untuk kita tengok balik, kita review balik our SOP dan sebagainya, our new regulation dan sebagainya. Daripada Puan Zalina, bagaimana prosedur untuk researcher mendapatkan chemical radiation for their research? Chemical radiation for their research. Kalau Mesti Melaya, kita akan berdasarkan prinsip perlindungan sinaran tadi. You kena hantar dulu kat kita the details, kena justify the use dan kita akan buat cross check. Kalau radiation source sudah ada dalam simpanan kita, memang you tak payah belilah, kita akan provide to you. Puan Nanisah, webinar ni ada PKRP point. Yang ini saya rasa organizer yang lebih mengetahui lah. Okey dah. Saya minum sekejap boleh?
Sila, Puan.
Cuma Puan Zalina tadi, kalau Puan daripada Mesti Melaya, kita kena cross check dulu. Sebab kita sekarang, our radioactive source, kita at the center. Kita kena tengok dulu, kalau kita ada that source, Puan tidak dibenarkan belilah. Kita boleh guna the source daripada kita punya pusat lah, daripada bunker kita. Tapi sekiranya tak compatible dengan Puan punya research, kita kena tengok balik prinsip perlindungan sinaran. Dan of course pembeliannya sama seperti legal tetapkan lah, kena ada bilik ke tempat yang bersesuaian, shielding dan kena ada safety requirement yang kita kena apply first before kita bawa masuk that radiation source. Okay, clear. Adakah saya menjawab soalan semua? Ke ada yang terlepas ke tadi kat atas? Tak ada kot. Oh, ada ni satu lagi. Daripada Encik Fahmi. Untuk SOP pemonitoran dos personal, sebaiknya perlu ke ketetapan araf penyiasatan di bawah araf status. Okey. Bagus soalan. Kita panggil action level lah kan. Kalau dalam OS tu kita, for noise 85 decibel kena 80 macam tu lah action kan. Saya tak berapa pandai tentang OS. Tapi untuk UM kita ada ketetapan tu supaya kita tidak melampaui max had yang dos yang telah ditetapkan. So kalau kita dah set 20 milisievert per year, kita ada araf action level supaya kita tak melampaui 20 milisievert itu. Tapi every radiation worker di Melaya kita, sebab every radiation worker dia handle different radiation source. So kita kena tengok juga radiation source yang dikendalikan oleh pekerja. Sebelum kita letak, kita tak boleh pukul rata semua sama. Ada yang bertugas di kawasan kawalan, ada juga yang bertugas di kawasan selian. So kita ada aras yang kita apply lah supaya tidak melebihi had dos 20 milisievert per year tu. Apa yang perlu dilakukan jika pekerja radiasi melebihi 50 milisievert per year? Oh, ini macam soalan exam ni tuan. Okey, bagi pekerja sinaran yang melebihi 20 milisievert per year, sebab tu bekerja dengan radiation, kita macam ni saya nak cakap, kita kena ada perancangan menentukan kebarangkalian. So kebarangkalian pekerja A itu untuk melebihi 20 milisievert per year, kita kena identify lah. Katalah Puan A bekerja dekat kawasan kawalan. Besar kebarangkalian untuk dia melebihi 20 milisievert pada tahun hadapan ada. Maka kita kena proactively memohon kepada tenaga atom untuk memberi exemption kepada pekerja tersebut boleh melebihi 20 milisievert per year. Tetapi jika melebihi 20 milisievert per year itu as acute because of accident, radiological accident dan sebagainya, maka kita adalah some sort of prosedur yang kita perlu patuhi. Mungkin kita kena hantar for medical check-up, screening dan sebagainya. Untuk radiological accident, kalau dos tu lebih secara one off macam tu, kita ada dia punya action dia. Sama ada kita perlu hantar that bekerja kepada check up atau untuk pastikan dia fit untuk kembali bertugas. So far, untuk kami di UM ini tidak ada lagi yang lebih daripada 20 milisievert per year. Jadi saya nak share experience yang ada pekerja lebih daripada 20 milisievert per year. Mungkin saya lack of experience lah. Okey, ni pada Puan Wajka ni macam saya kenal. Cik. Jika ada penyelidik ingin menggunakan haiwan untuk eksperimen dan mereka ingin menggunakan radiation ke atas haiwan lah kan. Apakah prosedur yang perlu mereka ikuti? Okey, first memang kita radiation tu kita perlu kena kawal penggunaannya untuk melindungi pekerja yang handle that radiation. Pada masa yang sama, kita juga ada etik ada etika. Mana kita tak boleh simply je kita guna radiation tu kepada haiwan tu. Katalah kita guna tikus makmal A, kita pakai just simply injected dia, macam tu je, and then kita kena beretik lah walaupun dia adalah haiwan. So dalam penggunaan hazardous material kepada haiwan pun ada dia punya SOP dia. Sama juga, kita tak samalah haiwan dengan manusia, tetapi kekawalan penggunaan bahan radioaktif oleh pekerja kepada haiwan tu juga kita kena jaga. So prosedurnya sama macam any radiation source, kita kena pergi, kami kena sebagai di center, kami kena pergi ke site dulu untuk tengok the best practice. Sebab the best practice for each area dia different. Ada yang guna radiation source radioaktif, ada yang guna X-ray machine. So maybe di tempat puan kalau guna radioaktif kena ada designated area dan sebagainya, termasuklah orang yang PIC yang mengendalikan juga perlu diiktiraf sebagai pekerja sinaran. Okey, saya rasa lagi 4 minit. Yes. Pada siapa-siapa yang belum mengisi kehadiran, boleh mengisi kehadiran.
Ya, ada semua soalan lagi. Kita ada 3 minit lagi untuk
Baru saya nampak. Ini adalah saya punya team ni. Cik Amir Shah is our radiation worker kan? Nanti kena tanya dia balik. Apa yang dia dapat daripada this webinar? Wah. Okay, any question? Kalau tak ada, kita boleh end of session.
Oh, okay. Sama-sama. Okay, so alright, kita pun tak nak panjangkan lagi sesi, almost approaching 12 PM. So I think it's time to bring today's session to a close. Terima kasih banyak-banyak kerana sudi meluangkan masa mendengar sesi ceramah kita pada hari ini. Saya rasa I shall pass the floor to the organizer, saya assume. And then until next time, take care and have a great day. Segala salah silap, harap Jumaat, harap.
Sama-sama, saya pun sama.
Okay.
Ini
Terima
adalah
kasih
sekadar
semua.
perkongsian. Terima kasih semua.
Terima kasih semua kerana sudi mendengar.